Hey guys, welcome to the RCR podcast. I'm the Roman and Mr. Regular's here.
Guy.
This is our first official podcast that we're doing together. It's formerly Ask RCR, but we sort of wanted to expand out and just sort of talk about whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. A lot's been sort of going on just in terms of the work and getting things done. I mean, I had to muscle out that Isle of Man video last week.
How long did that take you to do?
Well, I mean, what's weird is, okay, so I started writing it in June, like after the James Dean video was done. And because when we were overseas in the UK, Tom Clark, our host, shout out.
Yeah, hey, Tom Clark.
Yeah, mentioned the Isle of Man.
And DJ Kate Frost.
Oh, yeah. He mentioned the Isle of Man TT, and I'd never heard of this before. And once he explained the whole thing, I was kind of like, this would make a good, RCR stories. And so I started writing it, and then I guess I sort of fell into a funk of not really knowing where or how I wanted to tell the story. Because the idea was that it was going to be this short thing about this killer race that causes all this death and destruction. But you can't just talk about the race without talking about the people.
Yeah.
So eventually it became this story of the people who were killed in the race. Then it turned into, let's just talk about the legends of the race, irrespective of whether or not they've been killed in the race or not. And it turns out that the three sections, because basically I decided to focus on one rider for each era. So there's the early days of the Isle of Man. It was Stanley Woods, who was, the first man to hit double digits in Isle of Man victories. Then the glory period of the 1960s, I did Mike Halewood, who was kind of like the playboy of the Isle of Man, but super skilled, kind of like the Ric Flair of it all. And then the third one, it was going to be split across, the three generations of the Dunlops. Well, two generations, but you get Joey Dunlop, his brother Robert, and Robert's sons Michael and William. So you get all of that leading into the modern era. And so once I figured out how to tell the story, it started to come out a lot faster, but it was just the amount of, research and writing and rewriting, because, you kind of get sort of self-conscious about the research and about what you're writing. You can already sort of envision the YouTube comments in your head about like, oh, well, that's not really true. But yeah.
Yeah, I got some emails about people saying, hey, you should really know that this little bit of minutia was different than that. But that's part of the territory.
Yeah, it's fair enough. I mean, I kind of open myself up to that, and also because I'm not as deep into motorcycles as you, so it was me sort of trying to expand my knowledge base by diving into this thing. And it's because the RCR stories, like, yeah, they're car history stories, but the story is always about the people for me. And so that if I can't find like an interesting hook for the people, it's kind of hard. So, the Dunlop family, it was interesting because with Joey, you have, this wonderkind of racing who's sort of seen as like this folk hero in a way. Then you have Robert, whose death, only really happened because he got into this accident in 1994 and it prevented him from being able to close his hand all the way. So they had to put a button near the shifter to operate his front brake, so that when he saw, this object in the road, he tried to downshift, but ended up hitting the brake button, and that was all she wrote. And so it's this weird tragedy thing. And then with the sons, you have this sibling rivalry. That's a good hook. And then with Mike Halewood, you have a guy who whose death was foretold by a South African fortune teller.
That was so weird.
Yeah, that's really weird. And
the frick, he dies exactly the way they said it with the friggin' truck.
Yeah, the lorry driver, and he only, had to end up paying like £150 fine, which, I mean, you killed a guy. You killed two people. You killed a man and his, 9-year-old daughter. That's ridiculous. And so, I don't know. It's the weirdness of the people and also, or of their stories. Mm-hmm. And then I realized, towards the end, right before the epilogue is the chapter where I talked about, why the race is deadly, of here are all the people who died, these are the stats. And then I realized, no, that's stupid. You need to put that earlier to sort of explain before you get into it of why the race is dangerous. Mm-hmm. But once I had finally written it, because the writing is always the longest part, but once it was written and I recorded it, so it took 2 days to edit the audio, which once I was done, because I recorded it in one take going all the way through.
You did that all in one take?
Well, not without mistakes.
Oh.
I'll reset.
I was going to say.
Yeah, no, I reset and then do it all over again. So by the time the final product was 1 hour and 24 minutes and some change, but that original vocal take was close to 3 hours. And so it's me going through, chopping up all the stuff that I messed up. And then once that's done, going through and taking out as many of the breaths as possible, which is really time consuming. And then you do all that other stuff. And so that was 2-3 days. And then the actual video itself, was just, breaking night for 3 days because I needed it to be done before I went to New York Comic Con because I wasn't going to work on it there. Or I wasn't going to be able to, because you go into the press lounge at New York Comic Con and it's really nice and it's really quiet too.
Really?
And if you just so much as step out, a couple feet out into the main hall, tons of noise, like a high school cafeteria. But once you're in the press lounge, I don't know if there's sound deadening material, but it's just very quiet and very well air conditioned. And
is it the same room? Is it the same? Oh, it's different than the New York auto show.
Yeah,
it's a different room.
Different room. And so it's kind of this strange. I didn't realize this for years. I didn't realize this, but the press room for the New York Auto Show, because the far wall, when you walk in, for the New York Auto Show press lounge, there's that wall, and I feel in my mind I knew it was a takeaway wall, a collapsible wall or whatever, but it never really occurred to me until I went down there this year. And because it was basically the Javits Center is under construction, so there's this place called Artist Alley that's normally on the north wing, and this year they had to move it, and it was in the downstairs where the press lounge for the auto show usually is, but it was just so much bigger, and in my head I never really linked the two, so it was just that strange sense of I don't know. I mean, realistically, the press badge is nice to have in that it's more cost effective because you get in all 4 days for a flat rate, but it's also really effective for bathrooms because there are so many times where it was World War Brown and I had to get and the bathroom lines are just ridiculous. And I was gonna add this pro tip into the video that I'm gonna make on the New York Comic Con to the effect of how if you find yourself looking for a bathroom, find the all-inclusive bathroom. You'll find it for one, it'll say all-inclusive bathroom, but it'll also have a symbol that's all the gender symbols in one.
Yeah.
Because yes, you'll be in there with men and women together. So if you're gonna blow one out, there is a possibility that someone really cute is gonna be nearby. But at the end of the day, the lines are way shorter for whatever reason. But by the next day, I guess everyone had figured this out. Oh. So the line was just out of control. I mean, I cannot imagine what it's like trying to get into one of the regular bathrooms. But I don't know. For Comic-Con, I am gonna...
It's the lower intestine equivalent of ordering the kosher meal on an airplane. You get it quicker and it's better.
I was just watching this episode of Seinfeld on Hulu where Jerry and Elaine are taking a flight and their flight gets canceled or rerouted or something, and so they get a free transfer onto another flight, but only one of them can go into first class.
Remember that one?
And Jerry suggests that Elaine go to coach because it's like, well, you've never flown first class, right? It's like, well, no. It's like, yeah, see, you don't know what you're giving up. Like, I've flown first class. I know what the difference is. And, the whole episode is just going back and forth of showing the difference of Jerry getting hot fudge sundaes in first class and Elaine having to eat the kosher meal because somebody else took her food while she was in the bathroom. Just that type of thing. I don't know. I just keep
and then she sneaks up in the first class and then someone says, "Oh, can I see your boarding pass?" or something like, "Don't make me go back there. Yeah. Don't make me go back there." I'm getting spoiled when it comes to flight times. Or because we came up Millhouse with both flights in and out of Manchester because there was so few people on that plane. There were people lying across 4 rows of or 4 seats. Yeah. Because there was that much room, and the flight attendant said, "Go ahead, do that."
Yeah, we were encouraged to go do spread that out.
And I paid extra money to have the nice coach seats to sit up front. You stayed up there, and then I went back and found 2 seat. There were plenty of unoccupied seats by the windows. So I kind of did okay, well, sitting up in the seat next to you, even though I have more leg room, is still going to be less room than if I go back and find 2 normal unoccupied seats, put the armrest up and kind of sit halfway across. So that's what I did, coming and going. I wish I was Johnny on the spot like the Elvis impersonator was, who was on the flight going there. He was quick to get right into the 4 or 5 rows splayed out. I'm like, man. Anyway.
Yeah, no, he didn't need to be told.
No, he looked like a guy who's made this trip a lot before, which makes me wonder how lucrative it is to be and he's also doing the 1970s Elvis.
Yeah, he's doing Fat Elvis.
The guy wasn't fat, but he was still doing.
But he was doing, the theme song from Family Feud, Elvis. It was kind of, I don't know, and that was exactly what I was thinking of. Is this guy in demand? Yeah. Is that a thing?
In the UK to be an Elvis impersonator? Because it sure as shit isn't here.
Yeah.
Maybe Vegas, maybe Branson, but Bronson
was like, "Hey ma, how about some cookies?
No dice.
This ain't over." But
oh pally, this is Bronson, Missouri. Hey, ooh. I shot him. Now I'm going to Emmett's Fix-It shop to fix Emmett. Oh, 90s.
Yeah.
But so on the way back from the UK, on the way back from Manchester to Philadelphia, I was having these plane moments. I can't remember. No, did I take the sleeping pill or not? I can't remember if I did or didn't. I know I did on the way, and it kind of helped, and I can't remember if I did on the way back.
I took a Dramamine, which I've never gotten air sick before, but for some reason, something in my head was just take it, take it.
Yeah, they knock you out.
Yeah, I slept like a log.
Oh, we gotta do that for New Zealand or something.
Oh, that's gonna suck.
I think we're getting not in. This is just hearsay. I think we're getting something between coach and business. I think we're getting something where the seats pull back a little bit more.
I can live with that.
Yeah, it's gonna be not steerage. It's gonna be something better. Whatever flight it's gonna be, whatever carrier it is, I guess Air New Zealand, they have some sort of tier in between coach and business. It's not first class. Something between coach and business that isn't just coach, but it's the fire exit. That, oh yes, I guess it's better because there's more room. He said Caswell said that the seats recline a little bit more, and I think you get a footrest that kind of comes out. It's not like a lazy boy, but your feet can go up a little bit. So it'll be something. I don't know what that flight is. 12 hours? Something
like 15, I want to say.
Yeah.
It's something really hard. But hey, we have LA to look forward to.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
On the way back, I mean.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. The trip, well, I made the video. The trip is pretty much mapped out and programmed now. But anyway, yeah, on the way back from Manchester, the seat I chose that had no one in it was like a row or 2 rows behind this one fat guy in some sort of football jersey, and he kept standing up and just looking back and standing, like he stood in the aisle for what must have been hour and 15 minutes. Just standing in the aisle by his seat with his arms draped over his own seat, occasionally talking to his wife. And he just sat and just sort of looked back like he was looking at something. Just standing in the aisle. I'm like, the frick is this guy going? And I'm focusing and I'm obsessing about this. Why is he standing in the aisle? What is he looking at? I kind of got up and looked around to see if there was something back there. This was my own "there's something on the wing" moment. Like, why does this guy have to stand in the aisle? Who is he that he stands in the aisle? What is it? Turns out when we were all getting off the plane, okay, the guy was kind of hunched over. It was probably hurting his back just sitting in the coach seat, and standing in the aisle helped his back. But for 3 hours, like, no, he's standing up again. He's standing in the aisle again. Why is he standing in the aisle?
Yeah. It's standing there like that, like you're in 9th grade and your crush is absent and you keep expecting her to like walk through hoping that she just took a half day. You know, that type of longing. You're looking for somebody.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if she's absent, like that's a whole day of potential flirting wasted. Even though, you know, you're not going to talk to her. Come on. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Planes are just like, they don't frighten me the way that, you know, they frighten some other people. Although, you know, I don't even know that they frighten that many people anymore, but still, it's one of those things where I do get a certain amount of anxiety, like once we're, you know, up in the air already, just because, you know, it's the same amount of anxiety that goes along with anything that, you know, I don't know, it's like Louis C.K. said, like you're sitting in a chair in the sky, like, it's, you know, crazy in a way, but
I've been doing it for so long because my mom was a flight attendant for US Air back in the 90s. We used to fly all the time, you know, because would be able to fly for free or something like that. We wouldn't be going far. We'd be like going to Boston, maybe Florida, and whatever. It's a plane. Put in your earplugs, read your Calvin and Hobbes book. That was it. I mean, I like takeoff. I like landing. It's such a departure from airliners to civil aviation. Well, airliners are civil aviation, but they're big as opposed to the Piper Cherokees, your Cessna 172s, even your de Havilland 8s. Prop planes are a different animal. And they're hot. That's the thing that you don't get in airliners that have air conditioning. Small planes don't have air conditioning. And it's like an old car with windows that you can't roll down. Imagine being stuck in the Falcon in the summertime and being unable to roll those windows down. Imagine any car where you can't roll the windows down and it's hot. Or you went to YMSing, and did your school have air conditioning?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Did it ever quit on you?
Not really.
Our school didn't have air conditioning. My school didn't have air conditioning, which was Blue Mountain, but we had windows that could open. But some classrooms didn't have windows, and those were required to have air conditioning. And when the air conditioning did go, those classes were held in the cafeteria if no one was in there, or in the auditorium, which their AC unit may have been on a different circuit or something like that, because I can't remember that breaking. Oh, duh. It's graduate. Like, I had to go to every single graduation because I was in the band. You got to play at graduation. And of course, graduation is in late May or early June, depending on how they're shuffling the schedule that year. And what happens in Pennsylvania? Rain and those things. And you're praying that it's not going to rain, because if it rains, you got to have graduation in the gym. Oh, just all those bodies. And they have the big fans and the windows. And I don't know if the new gym at Blue Mountain has AC. I think it does, because it doesn't have windows, but, or it has those fake windows that or those. Why does every single gym have to have privacy windows?
Don't know, but that's a good question.
You know, the milk white translucent, I guess it's light outside windows.
Maybe they're to inhibit like school shooters from a perched position. I don't know.
Dark.
Yeah, that is. I mean, but it's one of those things where, you know, somebody at the PTA meeting is, you know, saying, let's implement this esoteric thing as we think about the children.
Anyway.
But
so yeah, small civil aviation is like having graduation in the gym. Oh, and I'm there in my uniform, which is made out of what? Wool. And you just sit. And they try to tell parents not to clap. Because if they clap, we're not going to get through this.
Yeah.
I mean, my graduating class was, I think, 108 people. So in the grand scheme of things, not that big. But anyway.
I didn't even think of the time component of it. I just thought they would tell you not to clap so that the kid who didn't have anyone there for him didn't feel left out.
Oh.
But, you know, two birds, one stone.
You went to Kutztown graduation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. They did it in an interesting way. They rolled through everybody. If you're clapping or you're carrying on, they're not stopping. It's not like a live studio audience where they pause for the jokes.
Yeah.
You have a card. It has your name on it. And as you go up, you give your card with your name to somebody. And that person gives it to the commencement speaker or whoever's doing it. Maybe the president. I can't remember who was saying the names. And they read your name out. So you're sat in any order, and it's almost first come first serve wherever you're sitting.
There's no alphabetical
no
sort of
and that commencement speakers, they ought to have the Oscar music for those guys.
Oh, did I was actually I got a letter. Like the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks of grad school, a letter that they asked me to speak at the thing. And I didn't realize at the time that they were basically, apparently I took this to my advisor and mentioned how, you know, because I'm not really a good public speaker. He's like, dude, they were asking you to be valedictorian. I'm like, why?
What?
Yeah, apparently.
For Kutztown?
Yeah, for grad school, apparently. And I'm like, wait, but why? It's like, well, well, look at your grades, blah, 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 blah. And, apparently, I had never actually paid attention to my grades, but, apparently I'd gotten, 4.0 for, the whole period. Yeah. I don't know how that happened. It was a complete, thing that I wasn't paying attention to.
Dude, why didn't you take that?
Oh, because I didn't realize that it was, being asked to be valedictorian. I thought they were just asking me to speak at graduation, and I don't like speaking and, doing speeches. Because,
Shit, son.
Yeah, then you end up doing the friggin', Webster's Dictionary defines, blah, 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 blah. I went to a wedding about a month ago, and, there were speeches, and I'm just please don't whip out the Webster's. Don't do the whole Webster's defines marriage and love and blah, blah, blah,
And that stands true here. John and Saba were having they were having a Dairy Queen, and I knew him back at the funny story when we were 12. Ha ha ha, keeping it PG. And we don't have to mention Shamazin really likes his commemorative plates.
And then you have the opposite end of the spectrum where, casual reference to the groom being a moron and the bride being a slut. And like, there's this video on YouTube of this guy giving the worst best man speech of all time.
Yeah.
So bad that like the mother-in-law has to come and take the microphone out of his hand. It was just one of those cringe things where like, nope, just noping right out of that. It's the same thing with like at New York Comic Con. Anytime I saw someone dressed as Pennywise from It, I'm just like, nope, getting right out of here. Oh, and that's the thing of like the cars that were there. For some reason, it's always Chevy every year. Chevy are it's the only automaker that has cars there. And so there's, this year there were 4. So there was the Batmobile Chevy Tahoe.
Okay.
Which it's just a gunmetal gray, Chevy Tahoe with the Batman logo on the hood. And it's also like this chunky design that makes it look more Batmobile-esque.
Okay.
There's the Wonder Woman Corvette, which is just, the most recent Corvette with, Wonder Woman panels emblazoned on it.
Okay.
There's the Chevy Bolt EV with like the Flash all over it.
I get it, lightning bolt.
Flash on the Bolt because there's a bolt on the Flash. But and then the last one is the same. They have this car every year in the exact same style. They never change anything about it. It's Chevy Camaro emblazoned with the breast cancer awareness.
Okay.
So it's like, Pepto pink.
Yeah.
And so that had no superhero affiliation, but it's just kind of weird in that I'm not sure how Chevy decides what character goes on which car, because with Batman you can kind of understand why the Tahoe, in that if you were someone who preferred the Christian Bale Batman and like that Batmobile, which was like that tumbler thing that just, you would think bigger and bulkier, in the same way that like working at a soup kitchen will make you feel closer to God. Like driving a Tahoe makes you feel like closer to Batman, maybe. I don't know, maybe.
All right. A truck. I mean, it's a truck. It's a utility vehicle, and Batman has a utility belt.
See, that's a good connection. Oh, that's another thing. At the Tahoe, okay, so they had this giant computer screen facing the Tahoe, and you'd walk up and you'd press the button on the computer screen, and, it would give you 3 seconds to get into a position, and it would take your picture. But the thing is that they had it set up in a corner of the Javits Center where there was absolutely no natural light getting into it, and they didn't have any lighting rigs set up, so you were getting these pitch black pictures being taken that were just sort of, it was a mess. I don't know why they did it that way. But with the Wonder Woman thing, I don't know why the Corvette. I mean, I'm sure women do drive Corvettes, but I've never seen it with my own 2 eyes in the wild.
Right now, the Rolodex of car show pictures is spinning in my head. Now, most of the people who drive Corvettes to shows around here in Pennsylvania fall into 2 groups. Wingadinga, or I bought a C6 and I'm turboing it to hell. I'm like going full Matt Happel on it, and I'm turning it into this autocross destroyer or something that's just going to burn the tires off, or it's a dragster. In the case of Wingadinga, the man always drives. Because I like Ike. And in the other case, it usually falls into the male self-destructive pattern. I'm 26 and I got out of the military, and this is what I'm spending my money on. Blah, 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 blah. Sure, like multiple nitrous spraying out of this. Are people into that? Are girls into that? Yes. Shout out to Steph Schrader. She would probably like that. Of course, it would have to be a Porsche with 12 turbos on it. Sup, Steph. And that could be it. Yeah. But yeah, Corvette. GM could pull a card from Harley Davidson, because Harley Davidson has a legit women's program. Do you need that to sell vehicles? No. Does it hurt? Absolutely not. course, Harleys have the benefit of that most of them are low, and now we get talking to the genetics and inseams and hip placement. And typically, a Harley Davidson does make a low version of their motorcycles. There's the 883 low. Do they make one in their 1200? I don't know, but it's easy enough because most of them have traditional shocks on the back. You can just swap them out and drop it like 2 inches. And, you know, and dropping the front on motorcycles is no problem. You just unscrew the top of the forks, unless it has inverted forks. And even then, I think it still works. And you just pull the springs out, put shorter springs in, and there you go. So there's that. Unless you're Holly Holm. And wait, is she like 6'1"? I forget.
She's tall-ish. I wanted to say 5'11".
Oh, okay. Yeah, but then that's any motorcycles. But I just tried to think of someone with really long legs, and I just went Holly Holm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, John Jones, he has those, or Anderson Silva has those, you know, those long legs. But no, and then what was the other one? Oh, the Bolt. So the whole idea with the Bolt having the flash on it, like I get the pun of, you know, flash on the Bolt there because there's a bolt on the flash, but you know, speed-wise, like, it's not a very fast car, and the only thing that you could really say that is fast about it is the whole quick charge capability, and even then, it's not...
Still not as fast as a Tesla.
No, because, you know, a Tesla, it's like at 150 kilowatts, the charging rate, but the Bolt, it's like at around 80 or so. And then at 50% charge, it starts to sort of level off, as opposed to, you know, when you're at 80%, then it starts to level off a bit, you know, to where, I think the rate is somewhere around, and I looked this up at the show, that, I think it lowers down to, 50 kilowatts, the charging capacity, the closer it gets to full charge. And so we're just sort of piling on inconveniences, in addition to the fact that, you know, charging stations are hard to come by if you're not driving a Tesla, you know, or charging options. Yeah. And again, like, we've been through the whole, like, the weirdness of the whole electric car debate, just because, you know, gotta have a garage. Yeah. Gotta, you know, because, you know, kids are assholes. Yep. Yep. But, yeah. Oh, I got recognized at New York Comic Con too. Yeah? Just a guy came by really. This is what I love about our fans, is that they come by really quick, just say hey, and then they're. Which is not to say that, like, I wouldn't, like, stop and talk. Like, I would love to stop and talk to some of the people, but the crowd was so deeply, you know, packed in that there was only time to just, like, handshake. Hey, man, keep up the good work, like the videos. Yeah, and then cool. Yeah, so that was nice.
Were you wearing an RCR shirt?
Nah. I was wearing I forget what shirt I was wearing. Because I had a bunch of, like, novelty shirts that I had brought with me. There was, like, the Xanark and Abe shirt from Final Fantasy X, and, you know, a shirt that just said carbs on it. But it's, I don't know. But yeah, it was a good experience, and I'll talk more about it in my video, which I want to have done in, like, the next 2 weeks or so.
I get recognized if I'm driving the Falcon, or if I'm wearing an RCR shirt, and that's normally it. I was recognized once at Cabela's, and by someone, and I asked, how did you know it was me? And they said, the hat. So I was wearing the bucket hat. The original one, not the one with the logo on it, the original blank one. It was weird because I was holding an AR-15 at the time. Not that I was going to buy it, but you go to Cabela's and they have all the rifles just there. Yeah. There's no chains on them. There's no ropes on them. Granted, they have trigger locks on them. Yeah. Do they even have trigger locks? Yeah, I think they have trigger locks.
They want you to hold them.
Though. Yeah. It's the deadly version of a warm puppy. Oh. And, anyway. So we got to talking about this or that, and he was there with his dad, who did not know or care who I was. But he also had a car, and his dad talked about cars in the gruff, I have my car, I like my car, this is my car. I care about no other car than his. Yeah. Which I was feeling lonely that day, and partly it was me because I just wanted to have someone to talk to that day. So I actually kind of accidentally on purpose waited around for the guy and hoped to run into him on the way out so I could talk to him a little bit more. Yeah. And I said, the Falcon's out here if you want to look at it. And he's like, no. I'm like, oh, okay. Bye.
Because they probably think they're, like, imposing.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah. But hey, don't you have some news regarding purchase? Are we not talking about that?
Yeah. I talked about that on Twitter. I posted it. Yeah, I bought a 2013 Suzuki DR650, which is a dual sport motorcycle. I haven't owned a motorcycle since we started doing RCR seriously, which was 3 years ago when the LLC was formed. Yeah. I think we're still in year 3. I could open that closet over there and look at the tax folders and see where does it begin. I think 2014 was when it really started to pick up.
But I think we were YouTube partners in 2013.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, we started making money all right, so this is 2017, 16, 15, and yeah.
Yeah, I think the LLC was the year after we became YouTube partners.
Yeah, so that might have been 14. 14 may have been the LLC. 13 was when we were doing it but still working.
Yeah.
And 12 is when I came back from Alaska.
Yeah.
Wow. Like, I even forget when I graduated. I graduated a year after you.
I graduated in 2010.
All right, so I graduated.
All even numbers.
I graduated in 2012. But then I went back. Yeah, I went back for master's plus my certification, and that's when I had an office in Beakey Administration Building. So I was there for like a year and a half, and then Alaska. Years start moving together. I got to make a timeline of my life so I can remember things.
Yeah, I'm
like the big dates stand out for me. Started high school in 1996. Graduated high school in 2000.
Yeah,
I was class of 2000. Graduated undergrad in 2004. 2004. 2005, I think I got my first teaching job. 2006 was the insanity year. 2007 was the mental breakdown. 2008 was back to good. When I say mental breakdown, what it really is a quarter life crisis.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm never going to be anything. I suck. I'm going to live with my parents forever.
My dad had a career already by now.
Mm-hmm. So 2008 was back to good. By the end of 2008, grad school, met you 2009, 2010. I think it took me 3 years because I took a light and load.
Yeah.
Which was because I think I started graduate school before you, but it freaked me out because 2007, because it was so much harder than undergrad.
Yeah.
And I was barely keeping up with the classes and the reading until I remembered, this really isn't like I figured out, oh, wait, it really isn't that different than undergrad. Just show up and be nice. Yeah. You don't have to wow the professor at every single moment.
Yeah.
But also taking 2 classes instead of 3 helped. And then graduate. When did I get my certification done? Like there was this period in between grad school part 1, which is when we were in school together, and grad school part 2. That summer I worked in a bakery. I was a lister for something like National Research Center, which was just for a summer, but it paid pretty well because it was government work. And then I was substitute teaching, and then I went back to grad school. I have to go back and look at like old bank statements.
Yeah.
To try to figure out what I was buying and when, like where I was going. Because those, like, the years in between big moments just kind of fade away.
Well, it's to the point where I think some aspects of what it is that I've done since grad school have blurred the line. Like, I'm wondering how much of it is big events sort of happening in a sort of avalanche thing so that they all blur together, and how much of it is just, you know, well, you drank a lot.
Yeah.
Like, how much of it did I obliterate with alcohol?
Yeah.
And how much of it is just the natural forgetfulness of age progression?
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't drink like I did then, but it's to the point where why would I remember it anyway? You know, it's just, I don't know. Huh. But, like, the big stuff, like, you know, the road trip to Colorado, like, the which was 2014, if I remember correctly, which
okay.
I may not.
Because I remember telling my boss, hey, I need 2 weeks off. And she looks at me and goes, 2 weeks off? And I said, yeah, I asked you about this 2 months ago. I don't remember that.
Yeah, it's not like you just told him you eat Reese's for breakfast.
Yeah.
You know, just, yeah.
Which said, well, I should have sent you an email then.
Yeah.
I need, or talk to you on Skype so you have a third party. But, you know, I got it off and then we left. Man.
And the year after, I think a year after was, yeah, well, it would have had to have been the year after was the Pacific Fister.
Yeah.
And then, but I want to say like the Southern Stab was before that, but I don't remember.
It was.
Southern
Stab was.
So maybe the Colorado trip was 2013. Maybe.
Yeah. Which came first, the Colorado road trip or our first trip to LA?
First trip to LA.
Okay, that came first. Then the drive out to Colorado. Then the Southern Stab, then the Pacific Fister, then RCR UK, and then is RCR New Zealand. After RCR New Zealand, I don't know what. It could be RCR Australia, go down there. Hopefully, maybe, kinda, sorta, I don't know, collaborate in some fashion with Mighty Car Mods.
Yeah.
Half of it would be weird just to see people on that level who are beyond even Matt Farah in size. Well, Smoking Tire, I'm sorry. And then there's also... Could do Germany. I mean, it's open to really anything.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where, like, there can't be the language barrier.
Right.
But also, I mean, I feel like there are a lot of, you know, North American places, you know.
We haven't done Canada yet. That's the joke.
Canada.
You're going everywhere except Canada.
RCR.
Why you not Canada?
RCR,
it's 8 hours away from here.
Like,
it's 8 hours is Toronto. That's 8 hours from here.
Yeah. RCR versus Beantown. RCR versus Lone Star State.
Yeah.
You know.
Still haven't done Texas yet. Every now and again, Steph says, when are you coming to Austin? I'm like, I don't know. We will. We will come to Austin. She will put me on a track and I will embarrass myself. Because have I ever driven a car on a track? Nope. Have I even autocrossed yet? Nope.
Yeah, I'm in that club too.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been offered, but it's always been a timing thing.
Yeah.
And also, like, a terror thing, just because I know I'm not going to be good.
Right. It's like, hey, I never really liked Ultimate Frisbee. I never liked touch football. Like, hey, let's have a sport. And because me and team sports, they all distill into don't fuck up.
Yeah.
Just don't fuck up. Baseball. Oh, man.
Baseball. They're all looking at you.
I know. It's my dream in baseball is to get up at bat, hit a nice infield fly, and have the opposing team catch it, and I get out.
Yeah.
I don't. Hey, you made contact.
Yeah.
It's not your fault they caught it. Now, I get to go back to the dugout. I don't have to get on base. I don't have to have the mighty responsibility that I betrayed the ball.
Yeah.
Frickin' baseball.
Yeah.
Soccer was easier because as long as you're hustling and running, you still get your orange slices at the end.
Yeah.
Swimming sucked because you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
I hated swimming. But I liked marching band because all my friends were there. But as a percussionist, it's another case of as long as the band director isn't asking you to play what you just played, you're fine. Did I ever? I started practicing music senior year, but it's just sort of hanging in the back and having no ambition. That's why I never got off bass line. But
man, I wish I remembered as much of my high school. For me, like, high school all sort of blurs together in a weird way.
Yeah.
Mostly because, not because, like, I enjoyed it a lot. Like, I had a lot of fun and everything. But it was kind of, I don't know. It's kind of, I didn't get picked on, but I wasn't popular either. I was just kind of like a middle ground. Like, he's there, but not really kind of guy, you know? So, it is what it is, but, Oh, your motorcycle.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to Ryan, the seller. He was selling it on Craigslist. Here's the unique thing about this motorcycle. It's a 2013. But it only had 570 some miles on it. Right?
And it just barn find?
So, yes, a barn. Hey, well, it certainly was stored in a barn when we went to look at it. And we'll take a look at it after this if you want. I was full of a number of questions. You know, no Craigslist purchase has ever been simple. It's like Craigslist is like dipping into the loony bin every single time. And I guess people who bought from me thought I was crazy too. Because the weird thing, hey, Ryan, I am scratching my head because this guy never heard of a certified check or a cashier's check.
Huh.
Right?
How old is this person?
22.
Oh, well, but like if you're, because I feel like the especially for around now, the period at which you strike out on your own is sort of pushed back to 21 from 18.
Yeah.
So maybe you wouldn't have heard of it. Also, depending on the nature of the work that you do, you know, if you're an independent contractor, I don't know.
Yeah. So he wanted cash, and I was uncomfortable carrying the few $1,000s with me.
Yeah.
And so I show up there with mace, with my canister of mace on my belt. I was considering going over to Dad's house and just, you know, I don't have a concealed permit. I considered it. Like, you don't know. You never know. The guy, and everything was fine. But it's Craigslist. You're always... Now, he was probably just as suspicious of me as I was of him. Because here's this guy talking about something called a cashier's check. What? A certified check from the bank. And I'm at the bank. I'm at the bank in Hamburg. And I'm talking to the manager. And she was kind enough to take my cell phone and talk to Ryan. It's like, here's what a cashier's check is. Or a certified check. And for everybody listening, a certified check is a check from the bank, not from you. What you're doing is withdrawing money, giving it to the bank. The second you write a certified check, the money leaves your account. Now it's in that check. That money is guaranteed. Yeah. So you can give it. It's the same as a money order. It's better than a money order because they don't charge you anything. Yep. You already have an account. That's a service that most banks provide.
That's how I pay my taxes.
Yeah?
Yeah. Because I find out what I owe, and then, you know, certified check to the bank, because I don't have any checks in my name.
Oh.
So.
Yeah, that's the one thing about banks. You do have to buy your checkbook from them. Yeah. Now, I write checks to you and every other thing, so I have my big checks from regular car reviews.
Well, anyway. That's also the reason that I never got checks in my own name is because there's a high rate of turnover for my accounts, in the sense that the bank that I use, every 2 years they assign you, a new, well, actually, no, that wouldn't affect the bank account number. I forget, what stupid ass reason did I come up with for not having a checkbook in my own name? All I know is that I just kind of like having the convenience of cash, or the certified check, of just being able to go there. It's my money. I know it's my money, and I know it's in there, and I know I'm good for it.
Yeah.
And it's all in one direct place. That check is there. It's guaranteed.
And also when you use certified checks, the check will never bounce, and also... Like right now, I'm paying quarterly taxes for RCR.
Yep.
And the IRS still it's been half a month, and the IRS still hasn't taken out that quarterly deposit yet. So, right?
Yeah. Well, no, my quarterlies, I do the certified check because I can't live with the uncertainty of not knowing when that money's coming out.
Right. I don't know when it's coming out. So there's a bunch of money in my checking account that I'd rather not have in there, but it needs to be there to back up this eventual withdrawal of some.
Yeah.
Anyway, motorcycle. So he never heard of this. So I'm starting to wonder. And then I started wondering about the bike itself. Why does it have so few miles? It's registered in Delaware, but it still has a valid Pennsylvania inspection sticker on it. That thing's inspected until June of 2018.
So technically nothing's wrong
with it. But why did this guy have... I wasn't smart enough to look at his title, and when I took it to Mary Lou Stone over at Deer Lake Auto, she said, oh, this guy only owned this for a few months.
Huh.
Like, why did he own it for a few months? And Mary Lou looked at me and goes, he was flipping it. And my eyes light up like, oh, he was flipping it. Ryan, I have no problem if you're flipping a bike. I'm happy with the product. It's a great bike. But my post commentary is, he said, I'm selling it because I never ride it. And that's normally what people say when they sell motorcycles. And I didn't question it. And I guess I tried to flip every single motorcycle I've ever owned. I only was able to not do it twice. So I'm 7 to 9 or 7 for 9 at making a profit on every single motorcycle I've had. I have no problem. And this guy said, I bought it from an old man who couldn't ride it anymore. Maybe that's true. Maybe it's not. Probably is. But if he's flipping the bike, just say up front, I'm flipping it. I'm guessing he said he didn't want to do it because flipping has a dirty name. And also, if you're flipping it, that means you're going to want to bargain down. But a bike that has less than 1,000 miles on it, I was happy with the price he was offering. And it's the same case with the MR2. I didn't want anybody else to have this. I want this. Yeah. Because with dual sports, they're always messed with. They're always trashed because they're half off-road bikes. People treat them like crap. Yeah. And they're kind of made to be treated like crap. And everybody puts a stupid FMF exhaust on Suzuki DR650s and also the Honda XR650 or Kawasaki KLR 650. They always have the brap, 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 brap exhaust on it. Whereas this one has a regular exhaust. It just goes pum, 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 which is civilized. And I like that. And also the bike has a windshield. And the bike also has luggage racks on it that it didn't come with. And the tires are still fine. Great, good, wonderful. Now, I didn't know this. Suzuki is the Honda what Hyundai. I always mispronounce it.
I always said Hyundai since I was a kid, but that's because commercials.
America's best warranty. Contact your Hyundai dealer. Hyundai.
The commercials always say Hyundai, but that's Americanized.
Hyundai.
You know what I mean? How many things do we get wrong over here of, Porsche,
yeah.
Jaguar.
I like Suzuki, and I'm kind of a Suzuki loyalist because a lot of my favorite bikes were Suzukis. And also, during quarter life crisis, when I got out of it, I bought a Suzuki. So then there's that warm feeling like I'm okay again. I got this GS500. I'm cool. Yeah. So Suzuki was always felt like a warm and friendly brand. So, but one thing Suzuki does, because they are in a way, Hyundai to, Honda. Honda doesn't really cut corners with their bikes. Suzuki always cheaps out with something. With the GS500, it was the front fork brace, which is a very weak stamped metal sheet that maybe some people claim even broke. With the DR650, forgive me, I can't remember your Twitter name, but he pointed out the second I posted that picture, he said, "Did you do the NSU fix yet?" I'm like, okay, the fact that you're abbreviating it and it doesn't even say what it is means it's such a common problem. Oh, boy. All right. And I asked him, what is it? He says, okay, the neutral sending unit what the neutral sending unit is with motorcycles, there's a special light that comes on to tell you you're in neutral. Neutral is usually, you leave it in neutral to either start it or sometimes you put it in neutral at a traffic light like you would with any manual, but since it's not an H pattern shifter, it's a sequential shifter that you use your left foot to choose the gear. Neutral is between first gear and second gear. So the way you find neutral is to keep pressing your foot down. Click, 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 click until you can't move it anymore. Now you're in first gear. And now you get your toe under it and pull up. Click 1/2 click up is neutral. And to help you know that you're in neutral, a little green light will come on with a little N on it. Say, you're in neutral. That means you can take your, release the clutch and relax for a little bit while you wait for the light. Now, the neutral sending unit is a little tab or a little gizmo down in the transmission that makes a connection between two wires when you're in neutral to make the little light turn on. In most bikes, the neutral sending unit is made of metal. But in the DR650, it's made of plastic. And the neutral sending unit, because most motorcycle engines, the engine and transmission share the same oil, that thing is sitting in hot oil. Metal, not a problem. Plastic, problem. The plastic is probably the type of plastic that can stand up to the heat of the oil. Certainly there are other plastic bits inside the engine, the oil drive gear, even in cases like the Falcon or most, which uses an AOD transmission. All AOD transmissions, the speedometer gear is plastic and it sits in oil. It doesn't degrade. It's like a high temp plastic. But the the bolts or screws or fasteners, we'll just say fasteners, that hold the little plastic neutral sending unit in place, as the bike heats and cools, the plastic expands and shrinks at a different rate than what metal expands and shrinks. So as that pushing and pulling just slightly as the bike heats and cools causes those fasteners to slowly back out until they may fall out. Now you have two fasteners, two screws falling right down into the clutch, right down into the transmission, which would grenade the whole thing. Suzuki has never acknowledged this problem, has never fixed it. There's never been a recall since 96.
Damn.
Now, why did they do that? Maybe they acknowledge that it happens. I don't know. The forums said that the DR650, they wouldn't back out if they Loctited, put Loctite on the threads. Yeah. That would keep them from backing out. They didn't do that. The forums, I think either Thumper Talk or DR, whatever the forum is, had a poll. How many people took their case off, took the clutch off, and did the fix and found that they were tight? 30% of people found that they were tight and weren't loose. Some people said when they get it, they're finger tight. They're barely in there. I've ordered, there is a motorcycle parts distributor called, I think ProCycle from Oregon, and they sell a kit to fix that problem. They sell longer screws, stainless steel screws that are already drilled, and there's a wire. You will wire the screws shut so they can you wire the screws together. So, and you twist the wire. So if one tries to back out, it starts tightening the other one So they're just locked together in a forever Red Rover that can never break. So then you're good. Once you wire them in, you're good.
So it's a simple self-fix to a potentially deadly problem.
Yeah.
Shout out to Twitter person. 'Cause thank God for fans who notice these things.
Now, my bike only has, now 600 miles on it. I rode it for a little bit. That means the break-in oil is finally done, so I will change the oil. In order to perform this fix, you have to drain the oil anyway, because you're taking the crankcase cover off of one of the crankcase covers off of the transmission. Oil's going to leak out anyway, so you might as well just drain the oil and change the oil when you do it. That's what I should do this weekend. Wait, my kit isn't coming maybe until Monday, so I'll just wait until then.
Do we have a shoot on Saturday?
We do have a shoot on Saturday. Yeah, I can't do it on Saturday. Duh. So not gonna be doing it anyway.
All right.
Well, anyway, I'll do it. I'm not asking if I need help because I know how to do it. It's a one-man job. It's not a two-man job. I'm probably gonna film it I should film it anyway and just include it when I review the bike and just complain the whole time. But one thing I have to know is I have to know the torque specifications on those crankcase bolts because you don't want to over torque those things, then you're going to crack your crankcase.
At the risk of sounding like I'm going on a crusade, I almost feel like the review should have the goal of getting Suzuki to acknowledge this problem and recall, of just kind of NSU.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Is it the problem?
Well, yeah,
could do.
I don't know.
It'd be wonderful if we get credited as the people who finally gets to acknowledge them, because they're still making the DR650. It's still in production. I don't think that bike's ever going out of production. It's very popular. To just say, look, if you just Loctite these things when they put them in, there were some people who posted pictures of one where, in most cases, they fall out and fall down into the oil pan and don't hit anything.
Yeah.
But there are some cases where they get caught up in the clutch and just destroy the whole engine. You just shred the clutch. If this was a car, it'd be fixed like that. It'd be a recall instantly. But
because, there could be babies in it.
But, you're a motorcycle. Duh. Live the ride, right? Well, that's Harley, but still. Live the ride and live. Yeah.
So, I'm going to dip into the Ask RCR mailbag as in the final leg of our inaugural. Well, it's not our inaugural podcast, but I mean you and me.
First time we're indoors.
Yeah. Okay, so Lazy Driver asks, what the hell makes Pennsylvania so special? Mr. Regular seems to wax poetic about how awesome Pennsylvania is, but I just don't get it. It looks like you both live in the middle of nowhere, stuck between endless strip malls and farms. You get brutal winters and Amish hogging the slow lane. Pennsylvania pride seems to begin and end with Ben Franklin wearing a Steelers hat while gorging on a cheesesteak sandwich. I'd like to hear otherwise.
Well, he wouldn't be wearing a Steelers hat. He'd be wearing an Eagles hat.
Yeah, Eagles hat, yeah.
He's from Philly, not Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Pennsylvania is a microcosm of the entire country. We have two.
Right there. Yeah.
We have two major cities on one the East Coast and one the West Coast, the west side of Pennsylvania. The one on the east is dirty and angry, and the one on the left is hip and weird. In the middle is flyover country, or literally drive-by country. You just get on the turnpike and go.
Yeah.
There's really friendly resources in the north, like the Midwest North. We have our own stovepipe, and we have our own. Technically, we border a foreign land because we border Lake Erie, and Erie borders Ontario, or the province of Ontario of Canada, and we would have been the first state if Delaware didn't butt in line. We are the second state to ratify the Constitution. We are the reason oil was discovered here. we had the first superhighway, supposedly superhighway, which is the Schuylkill Expressway. Yeah. There's nothing super about that anymore, but for its time. And very briefly, we had an Autobahn. When the Pennsylvania Turnpike was finished, initially it had no speed limit. And it went from, I think at the time, it just went from Carlisle to Philadelphia. And then a speed limit was put in. I think, God, this must have been, when did they do it? The 40s?
Yeah, it was around the 40s.
I'm totally talking out my ass. Could be a different time.
Yeah. But,
you get all, I think a lot of it is you get all 4 seasons. Yeah. And you appreciate every single one. Now, because of the hurricanes, it's been weird. Only recently did it like yesterday it became fall.
Yeah.
Here in October. Summer stuck around a long time.
Yeah, it did. Holding on with both hands.
Mm-hmm.
But this was the first, and autumn is my favorite season. So I was kind of in a funk because I just wanted it to feel like fall already.
Yeah.
Because there's just something weird about leaves falling, but it's hot outside.
Yeah.
You know, that it's like 80.
Yeah.
It's just weird.
Yeah.
It's the humidity, but
yeah.
I don't know. It's proper cold outside right now. So, nice chilly breeze. But yeah, whenever people sort of ask, why I like Pennsylvania, it's because, it's the U.S. all in one, state. It's a microcosm of the whole thing, cities, farmland. I mean, the only thing we need is a beach. And
yeah.
It's pretty much,
yeah.
Mountainous terrain.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know.
We have our own Grand Canyon too. It sucks. We have one, the Pennsylvania Grand Canyon.
Let's see. Do you think Korean cars will become what Japanese cars were? Reliable, fun, and cheap alternatives to domestic cars?
We're going to know more with Genesis, but they're trying to go up market. Reliable and fun. Well, we have the Veloster. It was kind of sort of this hot hatch. People who have them like them. The thing about the Japanese cars is they were so overbuilt in the late 70s and 80s. That was their hook. As opposed to Hyundai, who got around that by just having a kick-ass warranty. Now, they still last, but they had to beat Honda on price point. Could they ever be what Japanese cars aren't? Well, to call a Korean car a Japanese car would be to do it a disservice. They're different approaches to an automobile. So I think the answer is no. I get what you're saying. Will they ever have the quality of what we had come to expect from Japanese cars? That's not the point. That's not the point of a Korean car. The Korean car, you don't go to Harbor Freight because you want something that's going to last forever and ever and ever. Yeah. You go to Harbor Freight because I just need a frickin' socket. I just need a 10 millimeter socket. Or I just need a cheap socket set that I'm going to do dirty work with.
Yeah. Let's see. What is the criteria for a Winga-Dinga-Dinga car? Is it simply for older Mustangs, a certain time period for cars, or just old American muscle in general?
If you want to say time period, that's going to be maybe late 40s or early 50s into... mid, like just before oil crisis. So I would say like, let's go 1950 to 1970, really. Or really 1972. Because the cars were so big. But when I really get into what Winga-Dinga means, it means I'm going to get a car. This car is a replacement for my personality. This car, I have no radical opinions about anything. I like nice things. This car is nice, therefore I'm nice. Instead of developing a unique personality, I'm going to buy an old car and stand by it. Or, let's be honest, sit by it. I'm going to not engage with anybody else. I'm going to not talk to anybody else at the car show. I'm going to sit in front of it and fold my arms over my gelatinous belly. Maybe I'll put Krager's on it. I'll put dice in the mirror. I'll put a little hula hoop lady. I still read Playboy. God bless them. They keep them clean, don't they? If it wasn't for Wingadinga culture, a lot of those classic rides would be junk. They never drive the car. They do it and they drive slowly. It's the American equivalent of Cameron's dad's Ferrari from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. He doesn't drive it, he just rubs it with a diaper. Well, this guy will drive it. I wonder if we're going to get our own Wingadinga culture when we try to... What was that line you had? Something, just trying to relive the summer of 97?
Oh, yeah. Where sort of... it's this middle ground between the two eras where you had... and this was... I think it has something to do with, like, the presence of technology, but not the omnipresence of technology.
Yeah.
Of, like, we had the internet, but, you know, the internet wasn't our lives, you know? And I don't know, like, you're straddling the line between, you know, the modern tech-driven era and the past that's more of, you know, a high-tech car is just something with a 6-disc CD changer.
Yeah.
You know, that type of thing. But yeah, I don't know. It was, and I'm trying to think of...
The internet was something you did for an hour before bedtime.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah, that was pretty much... And it was something that, you know, the internet was something that was in the living room.
Yeah.
You know, we all sat there, you would sit there and you would do your homework and, you know... There was no whacking off happening because you didn't have any... Maybe if, you know, the parents were out of town, and that's how, you know, it's like instead of throwing parties, like I'm throwing a party for one. Of just, which, I mean, on a friggin' dial-up connection, like how much fun are you really having?
Right.
Like on watching, you know, scenes from R-rated movies on Real Player.
Nice.
Just, you know...
Buffering.
Yeah, man. Just... Got the tub of Vaseline there, and, you know, paper towels. But no, it's just, you know, and it's because, you know, the internet is one of those things where I think the people were discovering car culture for the first time, like finding communities with which to discuss and share opinions. Because otherwise, you know, if you didn't have a car person in your life, like, who were you going to talk cars with? Yeah. You know, and now that's not a problem. You have like R Cars and you have, you know, countless other forums. You know, back in the day, you never would have known about the NSU thing. No. You know, and that's something that you would have had to find out the hard way. And now we're in an age where there's almost no excuse for ignorance in the sense that, you know, if there's something that you don't know how to do, there's always someone on YouTube who will show you how. Yeah. And there's always people in forums or on subreddits that you can ask who will tell you how, unless they just downvote you because they think your question is stupid. But it's one of those things where I think, I don't know. I forget how I got on this topic, but it's just a big, you know.
Everybody wants to go back to the summer of 97. Yeah. So our summer of 97, would we have our own Wingadinga cars? Well, I got all misty-eyed over that Honda Civic, that EH2 hatch from 96, something like that. That was in the middle of winter, too. And even a Chevy Cavalier. What else do I want? We still haven't done a K car. Plymouth Sundance, a Dodge Shadow. Oh, man. Anyway.
All right. And then, last one, it's weird because I think we've answered a few of these, but I'm just going to pick one at random and say... do you think small, simple cars akin to Festivas, Geo Metros, EF hatches, or Tercels will ever come back? And would you like to see them come back?
Yeah, I think they're still here. I mean, they're trying to go up market. I say that a lot, up market. The Honda Fit is still out there. Ford's base Fiesta is still there. What was I driving recently? That someone got super... Oh, yeah, Jeff. We went hiking like 2 days ago on the AT, which is another story for another podcast. He bought from a dealership a new Ford Focus base model with a 5-speed manual for $14,000. That's pretty good. Yeah. And there's not much going on with it. He already put, a cold air intake. I didn't even make air quotes, but you know what I'm doing.
Man.
Made the intake noise loud. It sounded growly. It was all right. But he put some nice tires on it. And so that car exists. And he went on a big rant while we were hiking about how Ford, in an effort to get the fuel economy up for their automatic models, didn't use a traditional torque converter automatic. They used a automated manual, a electric man. So even the automatics are manuals, but the computer is shifting. But it shifts really bad and it just wears itself out, and the transmissions have problems after 12,000 miles. And Ford did it to just make the EPA requirements, because manuals, as being direct drive, do get better mileage if used correctly. So this computer's trying to do it, but a computer can't adequately slip a clutch correctly all the time. It doesn't know how to be gentle, and also it tries to blend power, and so it's always trying to kick down. But it's in essence, it's just shifting too much. Whereas, you can accelerate fine in fifth gear in most cars with a manual, versus this Ford automated manual for their automatics just breaks. So if you're buying a Ford Focus, a naturally aspirated base model 1, for heaven's sakes, get the regular manual. Learn how to use it. So, yeah, small cars are still there. There will always be a market. There always has to be a cheap, low margin option for dealers. I mean, the market just demands it. If all cars got way too expensive, initially I think the economics of it would force the used car market to become more expensive, because that's where you have to buy. And then, if we're believing in Adam Smith's invisible hand of free enterprise, a manufacturer would suddenly come out with that cheap car and then corner the market. So yes, small cars will stick around. Because of pedestrian safety and stuff, they're still going to be heavier than they once were. But my answer to that is learn to ride a freaking motorcycle. You'll be amazed. Like, I don't know. I don't know how far this DR650 will go on a tank. People will be shouting it right now because they know it's just a calculation, and depending how you ride the darn thing, it has a fuel capacity. Its stock tank, I think, is 2. I have it written down on a piece of paper, but my computer chair is way over there. It's 2.4 gallons, I think, is all it carries.
Sounds about right. And
I think that'll get you. I think the bare minimum, it has to get 50 miles a gallon. When I had a DR 350 way before RCR, that thing did like 68 miles a gallon. So I think this 650 will do close to that. It's probably going to be less stress than the 350. The best mileage I ever got out of a motorcycle was 77 miles a gallon out of a Honda CM250C, which is the precursor to the Honda Rebel 250. And that was when I was living down in Lansdale, which is a suburb of Philadelphia. And just riding around, like never going much faster than 40, maybe 50. It just kind of going back roads to work, never going on the highway with this thing. So the engine was never really stressed, and I was never really fighting wind resistance, just going that slow. So it was just sippy, sippy, sippy. So yeah, Your solution to small cars was and always will be motorcycles. Wear a helmet, all the gear, all the time.
Yep. No exceptions.
Except when there are exceptions.
Which is more
I've been bad. I know. When I had my scooter, when I was living in Kutztown, I hardly wore a helmet. I never wore a motorcycle helmet when I rode that scooter. Should have. Because Pennsylvania had...
Well, I mean, how many years ago was this?
That was grad school part 2. So that was 2011, 12? Something like that. When did you graduate?
10.
So this would be 11 or 12. And I rode it in the winter. Like, I had headgear. I had a thick hat. And ski goggles to fight the wind. And even when I had my Honda... What was it? Honda CL175 Scrambler. There were occasions when I rode that around Kutztown with no helmet and like John Lennon style round sunglasses and a waistcoat. When it was kind of steampunk-esque, but riding a 1970 Scrambler with the baffles removed. That bike was amazing. That was a dangerous bike. That was a dangerous motorcycle. It was fun and sexy though. I was so into that. But when I left town, I wore a helmet. But my one roommate, Tyler Grimm, he was riding his road bicycle, like a sort of like a racing bicycle. He was flying down one street and got T-boned in it. He went to the hospital with stitches that sew half of his ear back on. And so, yeah. I will admit that Mother Nature is trying to thin the herds, and sometimes I am falling into her trap. Oh, look cool, don't wear a helmet. Although when it comes to... I do wear a helmet now.
Yeah.
I have a full-face helmet. It's a Snell-approved helmet. I have an armor jacket, and thanks to one fan that I reviewed, his Ducati, and also his BMW... I think 1125, or did he have a 1200? It's the one where I made the joke about, have you seen Long Way Around? He gave me a pair of overpants with armored thighs and knees, which I will also wear. I've ridden them and I've worn them in videos. And also, as far as feet, it's because I have such wide feet, I just wear normal boots because I've never found a motorcycle boot that has a toe box big enough for my frickin' flippers. So I'll either wear work boots or hiking boots as my shoes. And also gloves, too.
Yeah.
So, good.
Yeah, good. Well, thanks for listening.